Hi, I'm Debbie Dittrich with Following Him, and I've got my good friend Kelly Newcom here, and I'm interviewing her. This is in Colorado, and she has come to visit me here for a couple of days. And so we have had so many great talks, just real women, real friends with real lives, real issues. We are not perfect beings. Not that you thought we were, but we've been talking a lot about our perfect God and how he sustains us every day and how much we love him and we want to follow him. And so if you missed the first two segments of my interview with Kelly, go back and watch those because she is an amazing woman. She's a young woman, early 40s, and she is adopted out of the foster care system, 7 children, right? And now there's an 8th one that's been added, sort of a foster program. But so I find her amazing at how she has followed God and felt in her heart compelled to raise these children. And she's done that at a great cost to herself. So in this segment, this is the 3rd interview, I want to talk about her ministry, and I want to finish up and tell you about how many kids she's raising and how many are leaving the home and how many are still in the home, but her ministry, because I just find it fascinating. So to sum up, right now, your children came in 3 different waves. You first adopted 2, right? And then you decided to adopt a teenage girl, but the teenage girl had 4 siblings that were still in foster care. So the bottom line is, in the 2nd interview that I did with Kelly, you should go back and listen to that if you missed it, but they adopted this teenage girl and all 4 of her siblings. So that is 7 children. And recently, in the last few months, a 3rd wave of just 1 little child has come in, and it's actually a foster situation and has many details, but I think we should leave that there probably. I don't know what you can or can't talk about.
Yeah, well, it's a very close friend of mine's adopted child.
Okay.
And she has passed away, and in the Lord, I just had such a sweet place in my heart for this boy, and the Lord just opened the door for us to be able to raise him for a short period of time. I don't know how long the Lord has, and so it's pretty fantastic. Wow. He was really the only child that we said we'd ever let more. Like we were like, we're done, no more. But when I went back and I read my prayer journals when all of this kind of transpired at the beginning of 2020, and I literally said to God, if there is a way that you would allow me to help this child, to help raise him, Lord, you know that this is the only child I would take. And so this is what happens when you say these things to God.
When you say yes to God.
You say yes. And I'm not going to lie, when I told my 7 that we were taking on another, even though they knew this child and they loved him as a cousin, they were like, what? And there are times when I think, and I have thought for all these years, oh gosh, what have I done? What have I done?
How did I get here?
Yeah, I'm sure missionaries and people who have really, done major sacrifice. Sometimes I feel like my sacrifice is nothing compared to what some people have really devoted themselves to the Lord. I'm sure these questions are normal there's a cost. There is a cost, and it's a daily dying to ourselves.
Yes.
I actually have that tattooed on me because it's such a reminder. I need to die daily.
Ooh, look
on my arm. Can you see with my watch?
There it is, die daily. I love that.
Just because it is a daily surrender. It's remembering that this isn't something that I did to punish myself or to try and prove that I'm like some superhero mom.
And you're not are you doing this to impress God or get his favor?
Right, no. It really is, you asked me to do this. When the days are hard, you believed that I could handle this, Lord. You really, you chose me, and I thank you that you chose me, that you called me worthy. I don't feel worthy, but I thank you that you've called me to this, and then one way or another, you will work this all out for good. It doesn't feel good. I don't like it. But that's the cost is always worth it. It's so always worth it. And so right now, last weekend we just dropped our 2nd oldest off at college.
Wow.
And my next oldest, who's 17, he's already graduated high school, and he will be launching into an apprenticeship of trade as soon as he turns 18 this fall. And so he'll be actually moving out and moving in actually with my parents to go do that. And then that will leave a junior in high school, a freshman in high school, an 8th grader. My 7th grade boy has some challenges and relationship challenges that we have had. And God opened the door to a residential school for him this year. And so he actually will be living there, and we'll be visiting him. And that was a really hard choice that we had to make. But
it's better for him.
Right.
He needs some specialized care.
Right now. Doctors, psychiatrists, everybody involved, and really trying to help him overcome some trauma. And and so, but the Lord opened the door, and so that's actually a very sweet blessing. And so we hope that that will all be restored. And then I have my new little 4th grader.
So let's say 2 weeks ago you were a family of 8.
Yeah, my oldest is obviously out of the house and married. So we had 7 kids in the house. 7
kids. And so as of tomorrow night, you will have how many in the home?
I will have 5.
5 in the home.
5 in the home. After my 7th grade son will leave on Monday.
Wow.
And then in October, my 17-year-old son will leave. So we're down to 4. And I think that sounds like nothing. Oh my gosh, 4. That's crazy. I mean,
that's so awesome.
Yeah.
So Kelly still works as a pharmacist, and her husband is a school teacher, and they do a million other things. But so that's her life with her call with these children. But God called you to something else on top of all that, in the middle of all that, which is amazing. And was that 3 years ago or 4 years ago?
It was 5.
It was here 5 years ago?
It was here in this cabin in Colorado 5 years ago.
So what we haven't talked about is there are 3 other women. Kelly and I made our friendship, and then Kelly brought 3 of her friends to Colorado to do a retreat. And we used to do it every year, every September or August. And it was so great. And we just talk, really.
Yeah.
Watch some videos and podcasts and just talk about how do we follow the Lord, share our hearts, what was going on in our lives, what our struggles were. And so 5 years ago, that's impossible. But 5 years ago, the girls, and by the way, all of those 4 women, including Kelly, all have adopted children, and they're all amazing. They are amazing.
They're amazing.
Amazing women. And during this retreat, Kelly said to us, I believe God has put on my heart to...
it was kind of this weird, I didn't know what it was, but I was so convicted of what smartphones and social media was doing to our children. So 5 years ago, so 2015, it was really, really taking off, and to this extent that no matter what I did to talk to my kids, to tell about it, they could just get on any device and watch pornography or, just all this garbage. And I remember just lamenting, like, oh, you guys don't, these teenager, these middle school kids, it was just so bad. I just felt, their character draining away, the relationships being so altered by this new way of communication. Back then it was a matter of, asking for, it still is today, but, it was asking for nudes. My daughter was almost trafficked, my oldest, over Facebook. It was the first time she ran away. There was just so many things. And I thought, someone's got to talk about this. No one knows what to do, and someone's got to talk about it. So my word of the year, it always influences me. My word of the year that year was brave.
Wow.
And so I started a ministry called Brave Parenting. And I didn't know that much, but I threw myself into research in all my free time about how social media really works and what's going on the kids' side of social media, really looking at it from their perspective and how it influenced them. And really in the perspective of how is God going to use this? I always say there's nothing new under the sun. Social media and smartphones do not surprise God at all. It's just a different way, a different medium for us to take in the world. But what does God really want to know about this? And I felt really strong that we could use, with wisdom and practical biblical knowledge, we could use these devices to really help develop good godly character in our kids. That was what I felt convicted of, is they're not going away. We're never going to do it with smartphones. We can withhold them from our kids, but they'll go to school and they'll get on it anyway. So how do we instill boundaries, and how do we instill even rules, and how do we have conversations of seeing it from our kids' eyes, but truly developing a character that God desires? And so, patience, respect, humility, modesty, self-control, self-worth, these characteristics, I think, are being lost in the constant consuming of screen media. And so I wrote a book. I don't know how I found time to write a book.
And what's the name of your book?
The book is called Managing Media, Creating Character.
Okay.
And so
by Kelly Newcom.
Yes, it's available on Amazon. So I wrote this book. And it's really just, it was my heart. It was my experience of why I set up certain rules and boundaries for my kids. And it was always talking about character. Why won't I let you download games without my permission? Because I want you to develop self-control.
Wow.
If I give you unlimited access to whatever game you want, there's no self-control. I mean, back in my day, I learned self-control because I had to wait for a letter to come in the mail.
Yes.
There was just these natural boundaries of life that developed my patience, that developed my ability to, exert self-control. And with everything unlimited, unlimited texting, there was just no limits. And I thought, we're going to apply limits, because I believe these limits are good in teaching you this good character that God really desires to see in you. But this device, this phone, can really just sap it from you. And so that was the book. And then I've just been speaking, and the Lord has blessed me with opportunities to speak at public schools and churches, businesses, big businesses. And it's
what is your website?
My website is braveparenting.net.
Okay.
So the core mission is to educate, this is my motto, to educate and equip parents to do the brave, hard work of raising kids of character in our culture of technology and temptation.
Woo! I love it. And do you have a Facebook page?
I have a Facebook page, Brave Parenting Network. Okay. But to be honest, because I feel so convicted about the effects of social media, I'm not on it very much. Yeah. And so I always say to people, if you're not on Facebook, don't join just to get onto my page, because you can find everything that on my website as well.
Right. And do you do podcasts?
Yes, I have a podcast that is available on Apple, Android, Spotify, SoundCloud. It's even available straight from the website, braveparenting.net. And those are just 20, 30 minutes, whether I'm interviewing someone or I'm talking about a new app that just came out. I just want to give that information so that you can take that and apply it to your family and say, you know what, I don't think I want my kids to have that app. I had no idea that app did that, because your kids will tell you, oh, no, this app only does this. And I spend a lot of time researching these apps, not only because I have so many kids who want them as well, but I also learn from them, because they now know. I kind of consider my kids in like two different brackets. There's the olders, which is like my 18, 17, and 16-year-olds. And then there's the youngers, which they're all 6 months apart, and they're, 9th, 8th, and 7th grade right now. And so the olders taught me a lot. And so I have applied all of that to my youngers. And so my youngers don't actually ask for nearly as much as my olders did.
Wow. Because
they have grown up with me being fully knowledgeable of all of this stuff. And I, in a way, have influenced them to say, actually, this is, they don't want to be on social media, because I don't want to be like mindlessly scrolling and seeing all these pictures of people that are gonna make me jealous or what this. And so it's a very different, the olders versus my youngers. So I know a lot about it. And so they already know I know a lot about it. And so then they give me hacks, if you will. They'll come home and say, for example, first day of school, my 8th grade boy came home and said, now everybody's wearing masks, right? It's pandemic. And so they're in school, but they're all wearing masks. And now girls would be able to cover their AirPods with their hair. They listen to music all during school. And so it was always girls that could get away with it because of their hair. But now boys are wearing the gaiter, and they're covering their ears. And so they have their AirPods on under their ears. And so my kids will come home and be like, okay, so here's what's happening now. All the boys are hiding their AirPods. They're all listening to music. And so they give me a lot of these.
That's cool.
And so then
Wow.
I pass it on. And it's not that that's a terrible thing, but it's a conversation. You know, you say to your child, maybe you shouldn't bring your AirPods to school. Or, you know, maybe you should really keep them out when your teacher is lecturing.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely a place for a conversation. You can't, you know, obviously force your kids to do it, but it's definitely, you know, let's talk about it. Is this something, you know, you really want to be known for? I mean, are we there to be educated? You know, can you listen to music after school? And that's really the goal, is just different families are going to have different boundaries, but I want every parent to make informed and educated decisions about what they're allowing their children to have and do and to access, and not just blindly saying, well, this is the way that it is.
Yeah,
every kid
I
just
have no
spends their
control.
life. Yeah, every kid spends their life on their smartphone. That's just the way it is.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be. It's a tool. The phone is a tool. But often Satan uses it as a weapon.
Yes.
And
Do you think that affects us? So we've talked about, in her first interview that I did, she talked about how the Lord led her to sell this $500,000 house, and how those things spoke to you. And when you moved into your smaller home, much smaller home, how you were able to hear God.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, because we're women that really want to follow the Lord and help other women follow the Lord, do you think, for us, you know, kids aside, do you see that social media impacts our walk with the Lord?
I think it is a great detriment.
I do too.
I think it's
I do
a very dangerous path to take. I really believe it is the wide road that many are on, and to be able to really limit or to completely, you know, remove social media from your life is that narrow road that can really lead to not only close fellowship with the Lord, but this greater joy and blessings that we feel like the world is going to give us, but we know it never satisfies. Social media as a whole is a great connector. It enables us to get information out like this, and I utilize it for that type of tool as well. But if I think that it's going to replace face-to-face relationships,
right.
if I think that it's going to satisfy me in seeing what's going on in the world, or what other people have, what other people are doing, I am so deceived. I am so deceived. And the heart of brave parenting as well is we have to set a better example as parents. We really have to be the brave ones leading the way. And if we're, you know, with our kids, just, you know, scrolling and not paying attention to our kids, well, we're terrible role models in that regard.
It's hampered me. I don't remember when we got a smartphone, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And before that we had flip phones, and I am a teacher, so I spend a lot of time studying. I can spend hours, I can spend an entire day studying and writing and doing those things. And when I got a smartphone and scrolling on Facebook or reading just stuff, it's almost like I've got rewired to become ADD. And so now it's harder for the minute I sit down and start studying, I'm distracted and I want to get up and go do something. So it's rewired my brain. So, well, we're going to close off this session, and I think we're going to have another one. And I hope you'll come back and join us, because Kelly and I have a lot of great things to say. Come back.